If you want to know what's going on in Rockingham County government, check out Rockingham County 411. If you're interested in county governmental programs, projects, and services, don't miss Rockingham County 411. Public Information Officer Mabel Scott will share important, crucial news you can use with Rockingham County 411.
Rockingham County 411 today is looking at recycling initiatives to keep Rockingham County clean and green, recycling the public landfill, what you can recycle, what you can't recycle, our county convenience sites, recycling in the future. This is what we're going to hear from Ronnie Tate about today. Tell us, Ronnie.
Good morning. It's good to be here again.
Glad to have you.
Yeah.
As the director of our engineering and public utilities, you're in charge of recycling in the landfill. Give us some background about the history of recycling.
Okay. So the county has always, I think, had a fairly active recycling program, even before curbside recycling, which we do in the unincorporated areas with waste management. And before curbside, we had the convenience site, which is located at the landfill, which we still have. But we had mobile recycling trailers that went out into the community to different areas, different days of the week. And the folks in those areas could bring the recycling to those recycling trailers. And that was, I think, our attempt to try to make it as convenient as we could before we had the program that we have now.
Okay.
And that program was very successful. I think it gave a lot of people in the community a reason to get out on those days and visit their neighbors or visit with our staff. And it was very well received, and we collected quite a bit of recycling at that time, which was good for that type of program. But in efforts to try to make it more convenient, we started with the franchise agreement in 2015, we started the curbside program.
Good. So what are the strategies that your department prioritizes to keep Rockingham County clean?
Well, we have several of those, and first and foremost is we have a very active campaign, I think, with your department and with the Sheriff's Department on the Code Enforcement Department on litter and trying to prevent litter and trying to prevent it at the source. But we also have initiatives with the inmate litter program with the sheriff, and they go out and collect litter during the week. He uses basically volunteers that are incarcerated that want to go out and do that service, and they go out and perform that. Now, that program has been very limited this year, as with a lot of them with COVID-19.
Yes.
And that has restricted some of what the sheriff's able to do. We have a Adopt a Highway program here at our building, in our area. We have a couple of miles that's adopted that staff and some of the leadership for the county, they participate in it, and we try to have those events at least 4 times a year. Sometimes it's weather dependent and we don't get to them, but we try to do at least 4 a year where we go up and pick up litter that's around our facilities here.
Good.
And so we have those ongoing initiatives, and we also have every spring we have Free Week at the landfill, and that's sort of the chance, or our thought is that it gives the citizens a chance to spruce up around their property, clean up, get rid of some of those things that may have been laying around for some length of time, and bring those to the landfill free of charge during that week. And we get them and put them where they need to be, whether it's recyclables or solid waste, and we dispose of them for them.
So one way for citizens to support the program would be just to recycle.
Exactly, yes. Yeah. And I know we're probably going to get to it in a minute, but the goal with recycling is diversion of those products from landfills in North Carolina. And local governments that have landfills are required by the state to have diversion programs to keep those materials that can be recycled out of landfills, and to save that space, because that airspace is so precious and so costly to save that for solid waste. And the things that you can divert out through diversion, recycling, get those to companies or places that do that recycling, and let them repurpose them or reuse them or recycle them and put them back into the commodity stream and for reuse.
So why should people recycle? What are some of the reasons?
Well, again, the single largest one for us, as far as for the landfill, is to divert those materials out of the actual landfill itself, simply because airspace is so expensive and so costly in landfills that the more you can keep out, the longer you preserve the life of that landfill for the things that really need to go in there, which is trash or solid waste. And just as an example, to construct a new cell for a landfill, 1 acre is probably $250,000 to $300,000 an acre. So, and then once it's constructed and it's filled, the county is responsible for overseeing that area really for at least 30 years, but we expect that at some point to change to be for forever. And to maintain it, close it and maintain it, that's another $250,000 or $300,000 an acre that has to be set aside for that care of that sale once it's closed. So you can see just the sheer numbers, the dollar amounts to get a new sale, and then what you have to do with it once it's closed is so expensive. And so you want stuff in there that belongs in there, the solid waste, those types of things. You don't want things that can be diverted or pulled out and have a further, another life. And so the more of those products we can keep out, the more airspace we have for things that really need to go in there and are covered and protected and don't become a hazard to your county or your community.
And that's why you keep trying to explain to us what we can recycle and what we can't recycle.
Yeah, and so there's so many things that can be recycled, and some of them we can do through the curbside program that we have for the unincorporated areas, which are the normal household recyclables that you think about: glass, plastic bottles, milk jugs, paper, cardboard, metal cans, whether it's aluminum or steel cans. Those things are easy household recyclables that should be what's going into your recycling cart. Now, along with those, at the landfill, we do take motor oil, we take antifreeze, we take lead acid batteries, we take inert debris. And those things, and tires too. I forgot tires. Tires is a big one.
Tires.
So we take those things as well there, and we recycle those. And another one I also failed to mention was electronics. We cannot put televisions or any kind of electronic device into the landfill. And so we have if you've been out to our site, you've seen seems at times 1 million old televisions out there, and whether it's microwaves or computers or computer monitors, those things are out there, and we package them up and send them to a place that recycles those. So all of those things have a future life that can be recycled out of them and used again, and it keeps them out of the landfill. And that's what those programs are intended to do. We want to keep those items from going into the active landfill.
And give them a future life.
Because there's, if a lot of them, tires are recycled into mulch, they're recycled into the base of the bottom of the traffic cones that we see so much in North Carolina, because there's always road work, it seems, everywhere. And those big orange barrels have recycled tire on the bottom of them. That's the base of them, and that's what holds them in place. And so electronics, the same. They mine the precious metals out of them and get that and reuse them. So all of these things have sort of more than one life.
How many recyclables on average does the landfill collect?
So if you look at our curbside tonnage, and if you look at what we get at our site, and also we have a very vigorous recycling program at our buildings here, the governmental center and the outlying buildings. We have a very vigorous program, and people really work hard at recycling that. So if you take all that tonnage together, I would estimate it averages about 300 tons a month.
Wow.
And so since we started the curbside program in 2015, we have kept out of the landfill probably over 24 million pounds of material. And if you think about that in terms of recyclable, especially in households, when you go to roll your recycling cart to the road, it's actually very light because normally it's filled with things that are empty, whether it's plastic or the metal cans, those types of things are mostly air. And so recycling as a commodity is a light. It doesn't weigh much. And so if you think of 24 million pounds made up of quantities that are mostly air, that's a lot of stuff that's been diverted out of the landfill.
Wow.
And that is that's the main thing. We want to keep it out, keep it for use for solid waste.
What kind of major changes within your department has Rockingham County gone through?
Well, for everybody this year, of course, COVID has been a major disruptor to things, and it, like I said earlier, it has limited the sheriff's ability to get people out there and pick up trash. It's limited probably some other groups from being able to do that as well. The other people that have Adopt the Highways, DOT, those types of things. Trying to go through a pandemic and do some of those where you're putting people together is challenging, as we all know. But not necessarily this year, but probably the single biggest thing in regards to recycling has been China's refusal of recyclables they basically want it free of contamination, down to 1 or 1.5% contamination. And that is extremely challenging for the recyclable industry in this country to try to get it to that level of pureness or cleanliness. And so I think what happens a lot of times, if those recyclables that we send to those countries in Asia, if it's not clean or free of contaminants, it ends up in somebody in a landfill or dumped somewhere, which is not good. We don't want that. And I will say this, the folks in Rockingham County, the ones that do recycle, do an exceptional job of providing high-level, clean, contaminant-free, good quality recyclable materials. And our rate hovers between 7 and 8% of contamination. And if you look at that, that is really unheard of for local governments. Most cities or towns or things, their contamination rate is in the 20% range or above. And so the folks in Rockingham County need to be extremely proud. The ones that recycle, you're doing a great job, and just keep it up and try to keep the contaminants out, because loads that are contaminated, even at the local level, get sent to a landfill. And so that costs the county money. It's a load that doesn't get recycled and ends up taking up airspace. So that's probably the single biggest change that we've seen in the recycling industry. And we are seeing some places not take glass now, and that may become a problem in the future. I hope it does not for us. I hope we can continue to recycle glass, but glass is one of those that it's cheaper now to make from raw materials than it is from recycled materials.
So obviously, recycling in the landfill is a massive undertaking. So what kind of items can be recycled again? Just to remind folks.
Okay, so with curbside And at the city of Eden has a convenience site. The other towns have some type of curbside program. Household recyclables. It's still glass. It's still metal, whether it's aluminum or steel cans. Clean paper, whether it's a paper like you have there. They take newspaper, those types of things. Clean cardboard.
Not the pizza boxes.
Yeah, no pizza boxes. If you've got cardboard that has an oil stain on it or has been in contact with food, please just throw it away. I know it's hard to do because you've got that pizza box and it's got just a little tiny spot on it. You're like, well, they'll take that. Well, it'll get kicked out because it's contaminated, and so we don't want that. Put that in the trash, and we can handle those types of things. Plastic bottles, obviously water bottles, soda bottles, milk jugs, those types of things. Those are recyclable. Now, some things that are not, that people think about, well, they should be, why are they not? We see a lot of people put their recyclables in garbage bags and just throw the garbage bag in the container. The garbage bag is not recyclable. So if you're collecting it that way, empty it out of the bag and put the bag, either reuse it or put it in the trash. Shopping bags like you get at the grocery store or Walmart, Lowe's, those types of places, those are not recyclable. Now, you can leave them there at their facilities. A lot of them take them and recycle those, but they do not work for us for curbside. Shredded paper.
Wow.
Yeah, shredded paper, and everybody thinks, well, you take paper, why do you not take shredded paper? And simply because the shredded paper interferes with the machinery at the processing facility, and it will cause the gears and the things that operate that machinery to lock up and just creates a big problem. So no shredded paper. Styrofoam, no styrofoam. Unfortunately, there are some places where you can recycle that, but not in our area. And the clear plastic sort of hard food containers, like you might see vegetables come in, or if you get a to-go salad or things like that, those cannot be recycled. We just went through holiday season. Wrapping paper cannot be recycled. Those types of things, they want good, clean paper like printed paper or newspaper, those things. But the ones that have that on it, like wrapping paper and stuff like that, no. So those are the main household ones that we take in either curbside or take at the convenience site. And again, at our landfill site, motor oil, antifreeze, electronics, tires, inert debris, lead acid batteries, those things we take there and recycle. One thing we get asked about quite often, but we do not take it, is grass clippings. A lot of people say, well, that's the same as tree limbs, but it's not. Grass clippings cannot go in the landfill, and we cannot take them as inert debris. So try to find a way to compost those at your own home and reuse those like that. So
I feel like I've just gone through a class 101 in recycling.
Recycling boot camp, yeah.
And that's why you do what you do.
Yeah.
We want to thank our friend and colleague. He has really, really given us an overview of recycling initiatives in Rockingham County and how we can help to keep everything clean and green. Thanks so much to Ronnie Tate and all your team members, part of the engineering and public utilities team.
Yeah, thank you, and I appreciate you letting us get the word out. I think education in these programs, we rolled out a very heavy education program when we started, and there's always needs to be reminders because you get new customers and people moving from different areas, and they may be used to something else where they're from. And so anytime we can educate people about recycling or the landfill or what we do out there, we're happy to do it. And folks can go on your website and the county's website and find my contact information. They can call me directly or email me. I'll be glad to try to help them any way I can.
Be sure to give him a call.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Rockingham County 411, you're in a good place.